Sat chatting to her parents about her night out with friends, and moments later Jayde Dinsdale suffered a cardiac arrest and collapsed.
Well, it was a terrifying start of a traumatic ordeal caused by the caffeine in the Jaeger Bomb she had downed the night before.
Well, Jayde suffered 3 cardiac arrests in total, ended up in a coma and had to spend 3 weeks in hospital, and we're happy to say that she's here now alongside her dad Daryl, and we're joined by Dr. Dawn as well, so welcome.
Okay.
It's the 31st of January, and you are on a night out. You'd been to work and you went out with your mates.
Yeah.
Not a heavy drinking night.
No.
So how much were you drinking? How long were you out for?
I had 4 Jaeger Bombs.
Yeah.
And I was out for 2 hours.
So Jaeger Bomb is the drink Jägermeister, which is sometimes a shot, and then that is put into, and it's usually put into a specific energy drink, which we can't unfortunately name, but that's the one.
Yeah.
And you, because some of the papers reported that you'd had 10 of them, but you had only had 4.
Yeah.
And so when you got home, what sort of state were you in when you got home?
I was absolutely fine. I went to bed as per normal, and then I woke up and I was fine.
Yeah. Because your mum was waiting up for you when you got home, wasn't you? So she would have known if you'd have walked through the door and you were steaming drunk, but you weren't. And actually, a friend of yours also walked you home. You stopped off to get something to eat on the way home. Perfectly normal.
Yeah, perfectly normal.
So it was the next morning then, so you're in the bathroom, getting yourself sorted out, and you're chatting to your mum in the bathroom about what had happened the night before. And then what happened?
I just collapsed. Like, yeah, I was shaking and I just collapsed.
Well, the thing is that the induced coma that you were then put in, and the effects of the 3 heart attacks that you had, the cardiac arrest that you had, actually your memory has been erased of 3 weeks leading up to this event. So you can't remember any of what happened. No. So you have had to be told what happened.
I'm relying on what everyone else has told me.
Of course. You heard a thunk and a scream.
A very loud thunk. Yeah.
So from Dad's point of view, what happened?
I was downstairs in the kitchen. Again, we heard the loud noise from upstairs, and Jayde's mum screamed for me to run upstairs. In the bathroom, saw Jayde lying flat on the floor, eyes rolled up in the back of her head, purple.
Gosh.
So, yeah, parents' worst nightmare.
Absolutely. So what did you do? Because, like you said, sort of parents' worst nightmare, some people would freeze, but actually what you did next saved her life.
Amazingly, and I've got to thank Vinnie Jones for this, for his British Heart Foundation advert, because it stuck in my head because it made me laugh. And immediately I recognised what was happening. And
this is the music this is the compressions
Staying
to
Alive.
Staying Alive, isn't it?
Exactly.
So you do it to that beat.
Yep.
And so you saw the ad, followed the advice.
And it clicked in my head straight away, so I put her straight on her back and then started doing it.
And when the paramedics arrived, they said actually that the actions that you took then did make a huge difference.
They said it would have been highly unlikely they would have been able to get her back if I hadn't.
Me. Wow.
So you were rushed to intensive care. So you'd had 1 cardiac arrest in the bathroom, and then you had 2 more when you were in hospital, and they put you into the induced coma. Terrifying for you guys, because you say you see your daughter with the tubes coming out of her, and having no idea of how she's going to be. When she came round, she was a joker.
Just a bit. Yeah. Once they brought her out of the coma, she opened her eyes, and Jayde's mum leant over and said, "Hello, sweetheart, it's your mum. Can you remember me?" And she sort of looked groggily and went like that.
Huge relief.
So I thought, I'll have a go. "Hey, it's Daddy, can you remember me?" And she went...
That is so mean.
And I thought, oh no, but then she went...
Yeah.
So then
then
she
nodded.
was absolutely fine and right as rain.
That's when we
I mean,
knew.
it's joking now, but actually the situation was incredibly serious and it could have been so different. You went on to, you moved to hospital, you had a defibrillator fitted.
Yeah.
So what does that just sort of monitor your heart and keep an eye and make sure that if anything like that happens again, it kicks in?
Yeah.
What did the doctors say to you? What advice were you given? What did they mention about the amount of caffeine in these energy drinks that you drunk?
Well, they just said, well, we had no idea, obviously, that this sort of thing could happen to us. So we had no... They said that it can cause these things, but they said it's very rare that these things happen.
Because you've drunk coffee before, tea, coffee, you'd had caffeine in your diet. It wasn't like the first time that you'd had this. Had you had Jaeger bombs in the past?
Yeah.
But so this was, I mean, this is an unusual thing to happen. I mean, Dawn, how common is something like this?
Well, thankfully, it is very uncommon. It's very rare. I mean, a horrendous story, and how brilliant that you knew what to do in an emergency. Because I think even trained people, you know, when it's somebody close to you that you love, actually, you don't always think logically. So you were incredible. Caffeine is a stimulant. A lot of people use it to keep themselves awake when they're studying or whatever it may be. But in reasonable doses, that's fine. It just makes you a little more alert. We would say you shouldn't have more than about 400 milligrams of caffeine in a 24-hour period.
What does that work out as a cup of coffee?
OK, so let's say a cup of coffee would be around 75 to 100 milligrams of caffeine.
OK.
It does vary, and it depends on how the caffeine has been brewed and so on, but let's go with that kind of number. Some of the energy drinks that have been analysed have over 200 milligrams in a dose, in a can. So you don't know what kind of caffeine levels you're getting. You are clearly very sensitive, and the fact that your doctors, the medical team, have put a defibrillator in is because actually they're not sure what the whole story is here, and they just want to make sure that your heart is safe. So I don't want to scare everybody out there. You know, you've done Jaeger Bombs before. There are a lot of people drinking a lot of caffeine out there who are absolutely fine, but we mustn't forget that caffeine is a definite stimulant. And the reasons we have recommendations, so we'd say 400 milligrams for an adult, 200 milligrams for a pregnant lady,
yes,
and obviously much less for a younger person. And depending as well on size, if you're a very tiny person, then perhaps you need to be a bit more careful.
I guess the thing is, when you're buying one of these drinks over the counter, you have the can in your hand, you can read the back and you can see that. If you're buying it in a bar, somebody's just pouring it into a cup and passing it over to you, and you're not necessarily aware.